Shortcuts are everywhere in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Mastering shortcuts is essential to getting better at the game. If you know a course well, you can take turns tighter, drift better, and get faster. The problem is that there are hundreds of shortcuts and it gets tough to keep track of all of them. That is why I made this video a guide focusing on 15 shortcuts from different tracks in the game. I won't really be focusing much on intended shortcuts, such as boost ramps or simple tunnels that require a mushroom to go through. I won't be covering any of the DLC tracks in this video because the DLC has only been partially released. If a shortcut has a requirement to complete, such as items, they will be displayed right here. I will also put the amount of time saved by the trick right here. The first shortcut is found near the end of Yoshi Circuit. Normally you have to drive around this hill or use a mushroom to drive straight over it, but if you get a boost from a mini turbo and then hop at just the right time, you can jump over the entire gap without getting slowed down. If you land on the grass, you may have to hop a bit to avoid slowing down, but even if you do, it's still a nice time save for how easy it is. At the end of Mario Stadium, there is a trick where you can use the glider to cut across this area and save a few seconds. Once you go around the corner, be careful not to hit the barrels here or else you will get slowed down. Near the end of Grumble Volcano, right before this jump, there is a spot where you can use a mushroom to make a jump to cut off a bit of the track. Be sure that you don't use the mushroom too early or you will crash into this wall and fall into lava. At the end of Twisted Mansion, you can use 2 mushrooms to go straight across this long stretch of grass. This saves a ton of time, and it is relatively easy as long as you don't hit any of these roadblocks. The next 2 shortcuts are very similar and are both on Mario Circuit. These are 2 times during the course where you can cut behind some pipes using a mushroom and save a bit of time. Be sure to avoid running into any of the pipes though, because that will bring you to a dead stop and slow you down a ton. At the very beginning of Toad Harbor, there is a small outcropping of grass with a crate. It seems like an arbitrary detail, but it can actually be used to save some time. If you turn into the grass and do a hop as soon as you go over the first little bump, you can get enough airtime to clear the grass and land on the other side for a small corner cut. This is pretty easy to do and should only take a few minutes to perfect. This next shortcut is a strategy that I like to use in Dolphin Shoals when playing on 200cc. When you get into a glider near the end of the race, you can hold back on the control stick to glide up and then go behind this rock and land in the water. On Rainbow Road, there is a turn with moving tracks, one slowing you down and the other speeding you up. On the first lap, the slower path is always on the inside of the turn and the faster is on the outside. This is really annoying because it means that you have to take worse racing lines to avoid getting slowed down. But if you do a hop to get over the slow part, there's a small portion of the track that doesn't slow you down at all. If you stay on this the entire turn, you can avoid being slowed down and take the turn tighter at the same time. Dry Desert has huge open spaces where you can just cut across the entire track with a mushroom. The 2 best places to do this are right here at the very beginning of the race and here at the end. You can save a few seconds right here on Donut Plains where the dock drops you into the water. If you stay in the water and drift around these blocks to the left, then steer back towards the road, you can hop out of the water to bounce over the grass and land on the road. This is pretty tricky to do. You need to have the right angle when you hop back onto the track, or else you will go straight off the path again into this other water and lose time. On Wario's Gold Mine, there are these small ledges on the side of the road. These can give you a small time save by drifting off of them and then tricking. Right after you start the second lap on Big Blue, there is a specific spot where you can drift off of the side of the track and land perfectly back on a later portion. This is super easy to do, and it is really satisfying when you pull it off perfectly. To do this, you want to start drifting a little bit before the edge. Then, as you go off the edge, continue holding the drift and aim for this spot right here. You also want to make sure that you aim to be lower to avoid hitting this section. Even though it looks like you have a lot of room to clear it, there is an invisible hitbox that extends below the visible part of the drop-off that you will bonk into. On Hyrule Circuit, just before the finish line, there is a large corner that usually requires a mushroom to cut across, but it is possible to do without one. To do this, aim for in between the tree and the rock, and then start a drift. Then, as you are about to go into the grass, let the control stick go into the neutral position, release the drift, and immediately hop to perform a neutral hop. If you time it correctly, you should fly over the gap and land in the grass right before the path. Then, just hop once as soon as you hit the ground to get out of the grass and back onto the road. The last shortcut is at the very end of Shy Guy Falls. It is an intentional shortcut, but if you don't know it's there, it's really hard to spot. The shortcut is a stretch of grass with a ramp at the end that puts you back onto the track. You might think that this shortcut is impossible to do shroomless because the grass in front of the ramp slows you down to the point that if you try to jump the gap, you will just fall. But it actually is possible. To do the shortcut without a mushroom, you need to enter through this top tunnel right after the glider section. Then, aim for the right of this arrow and do a trick. Now time for the hard part. As soon as you hit the ground, start a drift. You want to aim for just before the rock at this little notch in the grass. Then, as you are about to hit the target area, let the control stick go into the neutral position. Then, release the mini turbo and do a hop. If you time it perfectly and are at the right angle, then you will just barely be able to make it to the ramp and do a trick. The reason that this is so hard is because if you land on the grass at all, you will not have enough speed to make the jump off the ramp and you will fall. This is a very difficult shortcut, so I advise perfecting it in time trials before you use it in actual races. That's all of the shortcuts. Some of these shortcuts only save a fraction of a second, which might not seem like much, but remember that in competitive online races, first and last place often finish within seconds of each other, so even shortcuts that seem insignificant can make a big difference in a race. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, because I am a channel that is trying to grow and likes help get this video recommended to more people. I will try to make similar content to this in the future, and you will most likely only see my videos again if you are subscribed. Thank you, and have a nice day.